been up in Santa Fe quite a bit.
Been heading up there. Yeah, man, it's been a really big year of learning. In the past, I've been in the chamber. I've rolled solo before. I try to go to the official meetings anytime there's something that the public knows about. But it's been really cool this year. The newly formed group, CANM, the Cannabis Association of New Mexico, which we are both founding board members of, has been an amazing vehicle for learning and growth within the industry. With Matt Kennecott, Will Brandenburg, Carrie from Mindscape, the Valdezes from Toke. Who else? Wild, Annie Rothbuck from Wild, and her whole New Mexico team. Trying to think, I don't want to leave anyone out. Amanda with Higher Cultures has been a huge coach as far as how to really advocate. Barry Dungan is invaluable, holding down for science. We deal with a lot of fuckery with the labs in this state. We see some high 30s and 40%ers that I just have to call some bullshit on.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we've got a strong group, which we had in the chamber as well, but there was a lot of still mystification, and it wasn't because of gatekeeping. I think it was lack of initiative, but this group has been a group of doers, and just the group dynamic and the high vibes that we've kept have been of encouragement of one another and leveraging our connections. And so this year the tactic has changed.
We forgot Mono.
Oh, Mono, dude, how are we going to forget the mayor?
RX.
Mono, he can open pretty much any door up there. He's got so much respect at the Capitol, and walking around with him hand in hand gave me so much confidence. And so I've been trying to be up there as much as I can to just shake the hands and let people know what our message is. And say the core of our message, what brought CANM together, one thing we all agreed on was if we could change one thing without changing a law, just by enforcing the laws on the books to make a big difference for an improvement of the whole industry, it was inspect before opening.
Yeah.
Most of the most egregious actions we've seen have all been from people that they'd never had to show their cards.
Well, and I think that the most simple way to put that is enforce the current regulations and inspect before opening.
Yep.
You already have rules. Man, a lot of time and manpower and intelligence went into creating this regulation. How about we enforce it and level the playing field? And we'll get deep into it, but we already have a definition of a cartoon.
Yep.
We already have a definition of advertising, appealing to children. There's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah.
And sometimes I know a lot of the cannabis businesses don't read it. And if they do, they don't give a fuck. But I also don't think the state reads it. Yeah. I'm starting to think that the disconnect is deeper than just politics to cannabis. I'm just kind of in this mindset right now that the disconnect is politicians to what the fuck they're making rules on and regulations on.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you get these kind of off-base bills and off-base, kind of concepts at the legislative level. And, we were talking about some funny, and I hate to say it funny because it's human lives, but we were talking about some bullshit legislation that was on the table that had to do with basically kidnapping human beings. Yeah. And detaining human beings for whatever reason they had. But you were telling me that they had to be, somebody had to get it explained to them that was illegal.
Yeah.
And that was bad. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, are we that in that dystopian of a society that we don't know that the due process of law and our constitutional rights?
Yeah.
I mean, do we have to take it back to that?
I think now that I'm plugging in, I think that that's the nature of government is I wish I could say it was 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but it kind of seems like it's, 1.25 steps forward and 1 step back. And so we do make progress, but every once in a while that equation flips and the steps back are more than the step forward. And that's why we end up with, you see the country remains relatively stable no matter who's in charge. And I guess that's the blessing and the curse of democracy is the pendulum swings. But what I can say is, like with CANM, when these meetings come up, like we're doing good about packing the house. And up to now,
love it.
I think that's what doesn't happen when I go to these meetings and you look around. It was good to see that more and more people are joining online.
New faces too. Yeah, new faces, new followers online. I like that you point that out.
Yeah, people are starting to engage, and I think it's a ripple effect of, us that thought we were engaging are now engaging at a higher level, and people that weren't engaging at all are engaging some. And if we stay on this trajectory, I think we're going to hit an escape velocity and really be able to own the lane that we're in and make good on the original promise. What I really liked when I was in the chamber was part of the mission statement was that we wanted to stand up an industry that regulated itself. That was always the goal. And somewhere along the way, we got stalled because there was problems that seemed insurmountable industry-wise and the bottlenecks at the state level. But I do feel like with leadership from people like Clay Bailey, these are people that we can sit down with and engage with, and they are high integrity individuals that are highly competent. And if we take the time to go up and meet them on their terms, then we'll get mutual respect going back and forth. We can't only call when we have a problem. And I see that's, if I've made mistakes in the past, it's that I wait until I'm frustrated to engage. And now I'm seeing like really the key is we have to be super proactive.
Yeah.
Because they'll just as well, like if no one shows up, then they're passing. If the eyes have it, then hey, you had your chance. It was online, but no one showed up.
Well, Clay's a cool guy. I met him back in 2018 when he was the head of the LP Gas Bureau, and with James Morrison was one of his inspectors and is now the head of the bureau. But now Clay's head of RLD and James is LP. But those guys were really cool, really down to earth, blue collar, hardworking guys. Clay's a cool guy. I helped teach him about hydrocarbon extraction. They hadn't really seen much as a state, and so they were getting ready to inspect all the labs. So they came to the facility that I had at the time, and got in the booth with me, and we showed them how the system worked. And then later we met back up with the state fire marshals, and we worked with them and this is way back. This was probably 2019 or 2020. And we worked with the state fire marshals to show them alcohol extraction. LP Gas showed up too, just to, be part of it, Clay and James. But no, man, awesome guys. And that's the thing. When I shout and give criticism to the people at the state level, I don't want to blanket that. There are some awesome individuals and there are some really good people. The problem is the disconnect. And we're fixing that.
Yeah.
And the problem is the disconnect. And these people, yeah, like I said, I talk to James every year. He comes in and inspects my booths, where we extract. But, I haven't talked to Clay in years. But the door's open and the relationship's still there. And these men know that we're trying to do the right thing and we're fighting for an industry that we love and care about. So yeah, as soon as we fix this disconnect, I think we're going to have a lot better industry.
Yeah.
And on that note, welcome to the farm table.
Stoked to be back.
Welcome back. It's been a while.
Yeah.
How long? When was the Lava Leaf episode, Josh?
I think I was first year, second year
It
rec.
was like rec had kicked off. I think we had brought down, because I remember we brought some product. So we had product. So it was at least.
You and your brother, Mitch.
Yeah, me and my brother Mitch
It was
came.
when we had first set up in this room.
Yeah, I think he was like second after,
Yeah, he was
after
second
Cowboy.
or third. Yep.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah, stoked
Welcome.
to be back.
Introduce yourself for those who don't know you.
I am Tony with Lava Leaf Organics. Lava Leaf Organics is now a house of brands. We're a family-owned, local New Mexican company, founded, with a community of friends, but mainly me, my brother, and my father have stood this up. And everything was pretty much at the beginning just built around, my brother's ability to grow. He's just a real wonk. He loves cannabis.
He says a fucking wonk.
He loves growing cannabis, dude. he knows shit that he forgets he knows.
Dude,
you know?
that dude's got the best energy.
Shout out.
You cannot be in a bad mood around Mountain Mitch.
Yeah, unless
Shout out Mountain
unless you're
Mitch.
big brother. I know how to piss him off uniquely. I have a unique way of doing it, but I like to think, you know, we bring out the best in each other, and it's been really cool. I mean, like working all these years now, it's rare that my brother or myself and my dad have any beefs. Like it, you know,
Your dad's a good guy too.
Working with family's hard, and we've kind of worked through all the stuff, and it's we have such a strong cohesion now. You know, the struggles of the industry have brought us closer rather than pushing us apart, and it's made us a stronger family. And with that, we've got new partners. You know, we did the sharecropping thing. We gave it our best shot, where we allocated sections of the farm and ran it like a co-op, and we saw that it worked really well year one and kind of year two. But as prices came down, you know, this was a second job for these sharecroppers, and I couldn't with confidence lead them anymore because the ground kept moving beneath us. And you know, within 2 years of rec, we were selling pounds for less than, you know, 25% of what we were at the beginning.
Ugh.
And so we've had to make peace with these new life. But the beauty of it is we have always been efficient and nimble, and we've never been over leveraged. And so we've been able to weather the storm. And one of the just amazing all-stars, he's been with us since we have been sharecropping. Shout out to Gold Tooth Gang and the Cannabis Queen, Jacob and Jasmine. They are the type of people. I don't think me and Jacob can say he's probably the most rare person. We've never yelled at each other. It's crazy. So people that know me know I can be a lot. I'm a passionate guy, especially about something I care deeply about, and I'm level-headed till I'm not. And so I'm getting better about being a professional and managing people while under financial strain. But what I have to give Jacob and Jasmine their props, because they always make it, they're always so considerate of like what we do as owners and what we've sacrificed to get to where we are to be able to help foster that growth. But the Gold Tooth Gang, which is Jacob and Jasmine and us, formed GTGX together, is Good to Go Extracts, and he does all of our solventless stuff, always has. But we finally now are putting it in its own skin, you know, and it's getting branded in its own right. And so we're really happy about where we're at, because we've survived. We feel like the worst of it, you know, like pound prices haven't shifted much recently. They're pretty steady, and we've made peace with where we're at. And so now we know we've got survival down. Now we're trying to take that step to thriving. So this can be something where, you know, if we have second and third jobs, it's optional, not mandatory. So a lot's changed since I was back. You know, my wife and I work in the air ambulance industry, and that's kind of her thing. But it's been a blessing to have multiple streams of income, because this business has been as rough as rough can get, you know, and really no words don't even put it into perspective, because it's been years of being hand to mouth. But luckily, you know, we've never burned anybody, and we don't owe anybody any money. So we've been able to maintain our posture.
Well, welcome back. I'm super glad to have you. It's an honor to be on the board with you. You know, we talked about CANM a little bit, and which is the association. And yeah, it's kind of cool to start to, it's not cool, wrong word. It's an interesting feeling to start to get into the politics of things in the state, when I've really tried my best to stay out of it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that, kind of like you said, is, you know, busting our ass, you know, basically living check to check. Common misconception is that cannabis businesses have all kinds of money. Common misconception is that we're printing money. You know, there was times where we made more, but man, you know, between taxes and overhead and you name it, stupid regulations that make us go above and beyond and raise costs, that stuff cripples you. And it's very hard to make a profit and really have a good margin in this industry, especially now in a saturated, brutal industry. So yeah, just surviving right now seems like, okay, it's getting a little better. Things are changing. We've weathered the storm specifically. And then blam, you know, we're sitting there fucking bleeding, limping along, and this bill comes out.
Yeah.
You know, and we just talked to Matt. You know, we're blasting through season 3 of the Farm Table. We just talked to Matt Kennicott, the executive director of the association, and it was the day or two before. I think it was the day before you guys went to Santa Fe.
Yep.
And, you know, I also want to highlight something because I've seen you in Santa Fe myself at these types of hearings many times in the past, back in med days. How long have you been going to the open state? How long have you been involved in cannabis open hearings? And, you know, how long has it been?
Pretty much as soon as we could. You know, we gave it our damn best to get a license when they licensed in 2015. And
Okay.
we had given it a really strong run. We built a really good application. And I didn't know how government worked back then. You know, I came in high school. You know, I got in, I was in a lot of things and was a wild dude, but off character type, I was a debate nerd.
Yeah.
And so I think I have a good ability to understand the other side and like understand that there's a way to, you know, give and take information to get to what ultimately is the truth. And so I've always had this like of that controversy and like that mental chess game that goes on in politics. And with cannabis, I quickly saw like where we got, you know, beat was we didn't do like shock and awe. You know,
Yeah.
I saw other applicants that got licenses and their applications were 1,000 pages,
Yeah.
but I opened it up and flipped through, and some of it was like the informational booklet that came with like a grow light. You know, like
Filibuster.
It's like 6 pages. It's the manual that came with your Gavita.
Sir, is this the Bible in the back here? Is this?
Yeah. I should have done that. You know, I should have.
Is this Romans?
I should have had a spiritual education plan in my original application to get it a little thicker, you know, because we were about 600 pages and I got turned away, you know.
Those original licenses were like fucking PhD dissertations.
Yeah. Dude, Urban's was like, when I worked there, I remember when I got promoted up to where I had the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, and I could finally open that drawer at the boss's desk. And I got that application out day one. I'm like, I want to see what it took.
Yeah.
You know, and I started flipping through and it was 1,000 pages of no fluff. Like it was legit. And so I'm like, okay, I was 400 pages short of getting it. And the idea was if you gave them more than they could read, but it looked legit, then you got
Oh,
one.
dude, I have Doc's original manufacturing.
How many pages was that sucker?
Oh, it's fat.
Yeah.
It's fucking.
See, I just, we didn't go big enough, you know, but it taught us a lot because I was like, I'm not going to do that again.
You need a translator
so
to read that motherfucker.
I decided, you know, I was going to make sure that the next time licenses opened, like I knew how many pages it needed to be. Like I didn't know, it said you needed proof of funds. So like on that first app, you know, we got our investors tax returns to show they had the wherewithal, but I didn't show like a current bank statement. Like there was things where these were things that if you were an insider, you knew was like par for the course, but it didn't say it in black and white in the RFP. And so, you know, we missed the boat for that reason. And so I was like, I'm going to plug in, you know, I'm not going to like get the door slammed in my face again because I'm not in the know. And it was about that time that I saw Ben Lewinger at a meeting for the governor. It was the first governor's roundtable. And before that, I would go up on my own and just try to figure out what was going on. But it was like when they're extremely public type of things, which were few and far between in the medical days. So there wasn't a lot of opportunities, at least that I knew of, to show up and participate. But then when the roundtable kicked off, I'm like, okay, this is going to happen now. And so I made sure I didn't miss a single meeting. You know, if it was open to the public, then I'm there. And so passing the bill, you know, I would get on every Zoom, and sometimes they last till 2, 3 in the morning, and you see the numbers dwindle. You know, you can see people drop off the calls. And if I stuck it out and if I said things that weren't, you know, stupid, then I got invited back. And so it's been just a matter of like continuing to like be of service as best I can and keep plugging in deeper and deeper. And now we're finally with CANM, the veil has been lifted. And I know now what I wish I knew then is like, you shouldn't be working through middlemen only. Not to say lobbyists can't help, political connections can't help, but what really helps is going up there and forming brand new political connections by going to every single representative that you can think of and getting in front of them, you know, in a real way. And so that's my goal forevermore, is just to stay plugged in and keep participating in the process, or I'm not going to gripe about it. And we know I'm not going to do that. So I'm definitely going to be participating.
Well, I think we got, and yeah, no, that's awesome. Like I said, I've seen you there years and years and years. So I was super glad to hear that you were part of this association when they first kind of hit us all up. And yeah, I think we have a unique group right now. I think we've got a group of doers and a group of no bullshit men and women that are not going to be pushed around.
Yep.
And they're not, at minimum, they're going to be heard. And their issues and their problems are going to be heard.
Yep.
I haven't looked at the call to action that we put out, but I think it was at 15,000 views in a day or something. We're going to be seen. We're going to be heard.
And I have to say, like, in addition to going up there, like, that's what I really love about CANM is the synergy that we have, is because what you're doing with Jesh, who's an awesome creative genius, that the Safe Cannabis NM. So everybody check out Safe Cannabis NM and know that this is a project that Donnie saw a need, and before we started calling him Disconnect Donnie in the thing, he's like, how can I end the disconnect? And through your own action with your team here, you guys built this beautiful website that makes it very clear how we can take action to keeping kids off, not using cannabis. Like, the whole thing that was spurred this bill was what they consider to be too many calls to poison control.
Yeah.
And we're correcting the record. I think there is some sensationalism going on, and we're finding how to get through the cracks and speak truth to bullshit where it's necessary. But I saw that this tool that you provided, I'll get to who I showed it to in a minute, but the tool itself is going to be so useful. And those call to action videos, like I've probably told 100 people about CANM, but I haven't told 15,000. And so those views, that's probably 5,000 people watching it 3 times because they showed 2 other people.
Well, and and this is where I got to give it to Jesh and Matt Kennicott. We got together, where we talked about it on the last podcast, but I told Jesh there was an issue. He's like, oh, fuck, this directly affects my job. I want to help. The call before that was with the director. And, we had a good rational call, rational, logical call where, he explained the parts of the bill, and he explained the concern. The concern is kids are accidentally getting a hold of these edibles. He mentioned the concern was of young age. This wasn't a teenager thing as much as it was a young age thing. And we just had to figure out a way to stop this. And we had a good long talk, you know what I mean? And I won't get into the, specifics. We went back and forth. It was a very civil talk. Between 2 men, and like I said, no disrespect there, nothing but respect. But at the end of the day, I said, look, I feel this is a parenting issue, that adults need to be accountable for their already very strongly regulated cannabis products. And that if young children are accidentally coming across these things, the packaging ain't gonna fucking matter.
Nope.
But
I meant to bring my bag to show, and that's what I showed the governor yesterday, was this bag, because I'm like, look, we should all be locking this up. Like, I have a skunk bag. I keep my stuff in it. I have one at home and one I roll with, and
that bag, your ex.
Yeah. You lock them, and then you don't have an issue, and it doesn't matter what that package looks like, because the backpack's black. You don't see in it. And so they don't know what's in there. It's a failure of parenting to do this to us, because we all know, and I think the main disconnect is that you can walk into now 7-Eleven and tap into their cooler, and I believe truly that that's where a lot of these kids are getting a hold of this stuff. It's THCA, and we know the chemistry. Their mess, it's the same thing. Like, they're having edibles, and these are 40 milligram cans.
I went to I have a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old. And I went to my son and daughter, and I kind of, I talked to him a little bit about, this stuff. And I asked them where like kids their age and the kids at school, if they're using dispensary products.
Yeah.
And they laughed at me and they said, no, those are too expensive. Kids don't get dispensary products.
Yeah.
And I was like,
They're ordering online.
They're ordering on
you can
fucking
order
line.
THCA online.
They're going through the black market. They're getting it from their homie. We have to understand the problem. We have to identify what's actually the problem and attack that. So what I told the director is, hey, I feel that myself and the industry can get together and create a campaign of education, because I believe, and what he didn't know and what I told him is we had just toured the Department of Pharmacology and the poison control through the lab and had a great discussion with them. And we were already thinking about this problem.
Yep.
Now, when I told him, hey, we're going to do something about it, that's when I figured, shit, I better call the boss man and tell him we got to do a campaign, because I wanted to show him that we weren't messing around.
Yeah.
We can do this. We can handle this. We're adults. And just like if I have a problem in my company, just like if I have a problem in my house, just like if there's a problem in the world, I don't need the state fixing it for me.
Yeah.
I don't need the state figuring it out unless it's something the state fucked up.
Well, and what's crazy is like how, like the machine that you've built, like that, how fast you manifested that vision is, it's just so impressive to me, what you guys accomplished. And it spurred a whole conversation that, I do think that is going to be the solution.
Yep.
Is educating parents. But we are going to have to pay some attention. I think it's one plant, one spirit, but because of legalities, we've called it hemp and cannabis. And that was part of our message yesterday was, look, this bill wouldn't feel so out of line if it was called the hemp, 294 was the hemp and cannabis packaging bill. But it's like, we're going to get our hands cuffed further. We're getting ankle cuffed now. We're already handcuffed. These guys get to sell at 7 to 11. It's just, it's getting ridiculous. And it's like, fix that first, because you got to be 21 just to walk in our shop.
Yeah.
Anyone can walk into that 7-Eleven and it's eye high.
Well, not only that, and if we're talking about teenagers, they can just steal it. Just like they stole beer when we were in high school. I mean, is it runners of THC drinks now?
Yeah.
Who knows?
They're hey-mistering probably THC drinks. How many bums are out there on the street that'll they'll do anything for $5?
And I'm not one to call for any more regulation, and we can talk about that later. But just some regulation. If you're going to regulate me, regulate anybody that's doing the same thing as me.
Yeah.
And these other products are the same thing. Cannabinoid, one cannabinoid to another. It's
psychoactive cannabinoids.
Same thing. So, yeah. Where's the outrage there?
Yeah.
This is such a misguided effort and such a misguided thing. So no, I feel simple education, and hey, I'm willing to put out the energy and effort to try to educate everybody, because if you get my product, if you get a gas station hemp product in your house, if you get a fucking whatever, an online black market product,
you're still buying on the black market,
you should still keep it away from your children and pets.
Yep.
And I feel that's responsible as an adult using an adult substance. And I think we are at a very lucky time in the world where we can start to destigmatize and not go to prison for cannabis.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to act accordingly and treat it, as a substance. I do not think it's a harmful fucking substance. I think it's the most harm reducing substance there is really in popular drug use culture.
Yeah.
You're talking get you off 10, 15 different pharmaceutical drugs, get you off alcohol, get you off, whatever, heroin.
And we know those people. If you've been in the cannabis game any amount of time, people you work the register. That's the part I love about med tending, and what I think keeps some of our people there is they start to develop rapport with these people and they watch them change. Like you see people tell you, I'm taking less of this, and then they're taking none of this. And it's a pretty awesome thing to see what plant medicine can do.
I keep saying the phrase, nothing about us without us. And there's so much truth in that. And I think that it should be mandatory for these regulators to spend some time in the industry.
Yep.
Spend some time. Like sessions, how long a year? What are these people doing the whole rest of the year? They need to go to these industries and they need to spend some time. Spend some time with the tax-paying New Mexicans that treat this as a career and a livelihood.
Yep.
And B, spend some time getting to know cannabis products and cannabis as an industry. Why? Because it brings billions of dollars into the state. And you can't deny something that's paying the bills.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Just like, when you live in your parents' house and they're paying the bills from you, you can't deny them. You can't, their opinion has to matter.
Yep.
We are paying a huge amount of the state's bills with our industry from the sale of the products that we New Mexicans make. They have to consider our opinions. They have to look at us as human beings and not as fucking monsters, criminals, and fucking thugs.
Yeah.
Like, get over it already. Fucking the reefer madness shit is so fucking like old.
Yeah. It's fading though. I see, like, what's funny is Mono was walking around with me. We went and saw, I had tried to see him, missed him in passing. And then Mono and I were walking to see another representative, and I saw this particular gentleman was in his office. I was like, let's dip in here real quick. This will be a fun one because you'll see what I'm dealing with up north. And this guy that the first time I talked to him about cannabis a couple years ago, invited him for a farm tour, said, fuck no. And he still said the same thing. He doesn't want a tour. He's like, you're never going to see me out there for a tour. But what had changed since the last time I talked to him is he's seen cannabis help people. He's an older gentleman. He has friends. He has family. Goes to church. He's like, I know people now that this has helped. So I don't have a problem with medical cannabis. I just don't like the way, Rec's rolling. But he agreed that now that it's legal, we need to regulate it correctly. And so the dynamics have changed in Santa Fe a lot. When we were passing this bill, you knew if they were a Democrat, they were going to be for it. And if they were Republican, they were going to be against it. And then the other night when we were hearing Bill 294, the Republicans were asking great questions and none of them voted for this. Like, they all were on I think we should try to enforce what's on the books first before we make new laws. And
what a concept.
And they were asking great questions though. They were asking, like, what have we thought about stiffer penalties for parents? But going back to the disconnect, when the sponsors were asked about the current punishment if an adult gives a minor cannabis, they didn't even know what was on the books. I had already used my turn to talk. I wish at that hearing the fors could have went first and then the against could have spoken, because if I could have heard their arguments, it would have been a lot easier, and maybe it wouldn't have been as good because it's like a gotcha moment, but which may have set us back relationship building. But in the moment, it was so hard to hold in the comment of I knew it's up to 3 years in jail, and it's a $5,000 fine if an adult gives a kid cannabis. So.
And it's like a felony if you get caught twice.
Yes,
and you as a
it's a felony once. It's a fourth degree felony.
Oh, so they got it wrong because they said it was a misdemeanor first, and then a felony.
It's a fourth degree felony right off the bat, and it's $5,000 fine and up to 3 years in jail. And so why?
You mean
it's already,
if these irresponsible parents that are just leaving their shit out, if they knew that was the case, maybe they'd lock it up. Because
it's, again, I haven't seen in the headlines where a parent's gone to jail for giving their kids cannabis,
and that's ridiculous, because obviously there's situations where that could be. I'm obviously not for that. You know what I mean? There's kids that are dying from cancer that their parents make the fucking choice as their parents to give them THC, and obviously you can't have a black and white law like that just says no.
But we live in a state where you can get that kid a cannabis card.
Yes.
Like, there's a lot of minors, we see them in our stores.
So if there was, provisions for it and blah, 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 like I said, whatever. None of these things are enforced.
Yeah.
And it's almost laughable that they want to add new shit. Are they just not going to enforce that either? Should we not even be worried about the bill because they're just not going to enforce anything?
That was the talk yesterday, but
or is that the one thing they're going to enforce?
What I think is going on, and like you mentioned, Clay and his integrity, he's only been in that position for a year and a half.
Yeah.
So the whole time that it's been going, it hasn't been under his direction. And so now that I've had a chance to like meet him eye to eye and talk to him face to face.
Let's go back to that. Let's go back to that. Okay, so let's for the viewers and for everybody following. I know we're getting into it. Let's talk about the timeline. So we made Matt, I, and Jess got together. We made Safe Cannabis New Mexico. We started the campaign. I think it looks really nice right now. We kind of released it to the public on Monday morning. And then Monday evening, you guys met and they proposed, I don't know the right wording, but they announced the bill.
It was the first panel discussion on it. Yeah. So
and you spoke there.
All of the sponsors of the bill were there. And it was the next is House Judiciary. This was
and I think we can link. I think we can link
the House
that.
Commerce.
I think we can link that in the
comments,
in the description,
the description.
And I think it was Commerce is who heard it. And so
what happened there? Tell us a little bit about that.
We went before them, and it was the against first. So we kind of each had our piece that we felt like was the messaging that they wanted and needed to hear, and we said our piece, and then they spoke and shared theirs, and then you heard from everybody on the panel, and it didn't go well, but we also, we're trying to be as polite and respectful as we can with people because we want to hear them out. We don't want to say, this is stupid, we're opposed. We want to understand where they're coming from. And now that we understand where they're coming from, that it's about, really is passionately about protecting, kids. Now we know, okay, we have a common goal, actually. We just have a different idea of how to get there. And so we have a number of amendments that we proposed that I believe are being adopted. We're in the process of finding out if they really were adopted or not. So the next stop, if it gets heard, is House Judiciary, where we will ratchet up the pressure if we go there.
Now you're being kind of nice because and
I like him again next week.
I like that. I like that. But let's call it how it was. The side that was proposing the bill lied.
There was some very gross quasi like fake news. There was some serious nonsense,
misinterpretations, whatever.
I mean,
the
one was
them.
They said 50% of poison control calls are because of cannabis. That is absolutely not true. It is 1% for the record. So there's been 1,000 calls.
50 is a little different than one.
There's been 1,000. Yeah, it's scary.
It's 1,000 calls over like 6 years, right?
Yeah, it's 1,000 calls over 5, and so it's about 200 a year. And actually, from the numbers I heard, I don't want to speak too much on it, but I heard that January was something like only 10 calls. So if that's true, then that means that we're on track. If January holds, then we're on track to have even lower numbers than we have in past years.
On top of that, they said that all of those calls weren't minors. Only about 50% of those were minors.
But I think it was like an oversimplification of loving that number 50 because it just sounded good, but it just wasn't true. It's patently false. Cannabis isn't even near the top of the reasons that it's called in. I believe it goes pharmaceuticals and then under the counter chemicals, and then I lose track, but it's nothing has 50%. Even pharmaceuticals doesn't have 50%.
So here's what makes me hot. And this is where, I'm not going to take it. And I don't think the state should take it. Jess pulled the numbers on alcohol deaths. That means your person you love so much died and you don't get to see them again. And that was around 200 a year.
Kids.
For kids.
Wow.
For kids.
Wow.
That's deaths. So we've got 200 fucking phone calls about a kid that had a rough night and a heavy sleep.
And that's one of the biggest things that needs to be discussed is we got to come up with some new words because they keep throwing around that word overdose.
Yeah, I don't like that word.
That makes my skin crawl.
Doesn't even it's non-existent.
It makes my skin crawl.
There are 0 deaths from this plant. 0.
Yep.
You've got alcohol killing motherfuckers and ruining lives at a rapid fucking rate. You've got pharmaceutical drugs wreaking fucking havoc on this fucking country. You've got all these fucking problems, and we're going after fucking gummies. We're making state legislative bills to fucking go after the packaging and color of fucking gummies.
And wasting the time of these chairs who have very busy schedules writing
Wasting the
legislation.
time of these people and fucking with local businesses and costing people hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars accumulatively. No.
And if I may, also coming completely unprepared.
Yeah, it was very
Thoroughly.
unprepared.
It was. I
Clue.
like. Obviously, I'm opposed to this. I'm an enemy of this. But I was embarrassed.
The fact
for those
checking
two.
was abysmal. Like, I would think that they would have an aid. Like, as soon as you if it was a misspeak, I'm not knowing the process. Now I'm a little more plugged in, and I know, you can just kind of say whatever. But basically, I would think an aide would come and like just say, like, almost like courtroom is what I had in my head. Is like someone's going to come in and say, hey, that wasn't quite true, and then you have to correct it on the record. But it's not like that.
We're in the age of information, and man, I tell my kids, tell my employees, man, you got a smartphone in your pocket. You're the smartest motherfucker out there.
Yeah, ask the question.
Just do some research.
Ask the question.
Look up some simple statistics. Hey, Jesh, what do you think about the Connecticut program?
I mean, Perplexity's $10 a month, dude.
Well, no, the program, they ran
Okay,
something similar in Connecticut.
So yeah, I was gonna say that. They threw around Connecticut a lot because the chairs asked, rightfully so, if any other states who are regulating are doing something similar, and they could only really say Connecticut. There was one other, but it wasn't nearly as strict. Connecticut was the one that is basically identical to this one. Well, I ran the numbers. There is statistics on this. Not only was the program ineffectual, minors getting a hold of cannabis increased, but the difference is that like teenagers who were caught with cannabis were just caught with more black market cannabis that wasn't in a regulated packaging, and overall it went up. So
it fueled the black market.
So it fueled the black market. So now you're not getting tax money off of that. It was counterproductive.
Yeah.
And it's not lying, but it is manipulation.
Yeah.
When you go in and you say, hey, I'm proposing this rule set and this bill, and we're modeling it after another state, and the chairs that are tasked with saying yes or no to this ask you, what are the statistics? And you say, I don't know. It should just be no. Yeah. Well, we'll hear you next year. Come with statistics.
Yeah, I thought we were in the
Did your dog
leagues.
Did your dog eat your homework? I don't like what it took me 5 minutes to gather those statistics. And at first I was like, okay, it's just ignorance. No, it is manipulation. Dude. They didn't want to bring the statistics.
Yeah.
This isn't about actual accuracy or writing legislation and passing legislation that's effectual. It won't do anything to help the problem at all.
And again, like, I didn't do enough homework going in because I use ChatGPT for everything. I don't know why I didn't go in with that exact answer, because I didn't ask myself, is anyone else doing this? I just said it's ridiculous and we're going to beat this. But that's what's cool about the association, is these types of give and take, we're continually getting better about, like, what information do we need to go armed with in order to share. And even then, at worst case, it's manipulation, but I still think some of it is ignorance, because these people hear something and a lot of them will choose that lazy route of like, I'm going to go with what I heard because it's what I wanted to hear. And there's not that fact checking where we got to all be fact checkers.
Well,
now.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah, it's confirmation bias.
Yeah.
100%.
Confirmation bias. Yep.
Exactly. You know what? They heard something from poison control. The Santa Fe, New Mexican, don't quote me, the newspaper got a hold of it. Newspaper in Santa Fe got a hold of it. And all of a sudden they're up in arms about all these kids getting hurt from edibles.
Yeah.
And I think there's such, like I said, inrolls the stigma, inrolls the misinformation, inrolls the word overdose.
Yep.
And we gotta stop. We gotta stop the bullshit propaganda. The original photos they were trying to propose that they showed us in our board meeting,
I know,
were all hemp products.
They were hemp products, and 2 of them were actually AI mock-ups that
they admitted
made.
that. They said they were like, we were just trying to come with examples. So they actually did that to try to not put anyone on blast. So they actually, when I asked them about that, they actually did it out of a place of respect of not wanting to put any New Mexican companies on blast. But then when we called them on that, CANM knew what was going to happen in the meeting and what
Fizzy
evidence
pop,
they're going to produce.
Yummy gummies.
Yeah.
You fucking with me?
They were. They were seeing if we were slipping, but luckily we showed them that we weren't. And they went out and they found some real examples. And so the really hard question I've still never gotten a clear answer on is, I don't understand. I'm not an attorney. I don't understand what's indefensible about the CRA as it's written, because like you said, I believe the meat and potatoes of what we need is in there. Like, we don't need a new law. We need to enforce that law that's on there. But I look to the enforcement actions page for guidance. I know what the regs say, but then the enforcement actions page will show you how the regulators are weighing in on the regulations. And I haven't seen any on child attractive packaging. I've seen a ton of them on other issues. Yep. Mainly not having security systems, or
nobody's
not having
opened that
track
can
and
of
trace.
worms.
So I don't know why.
think...
It seems like the lowest hanging fruit, because I've even heard the word laziness thrown at them for not doing that part of their job. I look at that as that could be your easiest layup, is going into any store, looking on the shelves and saying, you. And in the CRA, they can ask for samples. So you have to actually penny them out anything that they want. And they could take those back and use those as their talking points.
What I've always been told is there's no directive for that. We don't have funding for that. There's no directive for that. And but there's directive to completely turn the industry upside down and waste the amount of packaging and time and money that's just going to be wasted.
Kind of makes you wonder if they don't enforce the current packaging shit in the CRA, they can enforce this if it passes.
I don't know if they ever will.
And are the outlaws that are in the industry
now
now,
it's
can they even follow the rules?
Now it's the whole new sheriff in town mentality, and they're like, "Fucking now we're gonna do something." And it's like, geez, guys, we've been through the ringer out here because you collected all this money and you licensed all these people and didn't regulate them.
Yeah, you
took the money in like a fucking animal and didn't have a problem taking all these licensing fees yep. and sign here on the dotted line. You're good to go. No prior inspection, no, inspection before opening, no nothing. Do whatever you want. Have whatever fucking products you want. Geez, just like you said, the current CRA, half the edibles and companies making these things don't follow that.
Yeah.
And it's just enforce that. Just see what happens there if you really want to do something.
Yep.
Not add new shit to it and come on.
Where does it end? Where does it end?
So,
we know it's not going to fix it.
That's the hearing of the bill. And that was Monday. And we launched the Safe Cannabis New Mexico site. We got the campaign rolling. We got a lot going on behind the scenes. That was just the landing page. Everybody go check it out, safecannabisnm.com. And then you got a very unique experience. What was it, yesterday?
It was yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, you want to tell us about that?
So, a great friend of mine's company had been put on blast. And I know their brand, and it wasn't their intention to make anything child attractive. It's just, we all know, like, we're big kids. Like, we like this stuff too. It's fun. I liked expressing my own personality through my brand. And so I called and just said, hey man, like, you guys probably want to jump in on this because you don't want them to write your story. And he had some connections and was able to leverage and get us a meeting with the governor. And because he doesn't plug into the regulation the same way, but he's an OG in the game and they have a very successful business. And so
you got to see the boss.
So he got to see the boss, and
you did too. You went,
and
with.
I did too. So
nice.
they knew I've been in this, living it, eat, sleep, and breathing it, and they invited me along, and we got to sit down with the governor, and we had an amazing conversation. You hear all these myths. They're like, oh, pay to play. You got to spend $20,000 to see the governor. That is some bullshit. You go to that office, you talk to the scheduling person. They ask you what you want to talk about. They work you into the schedule somewhere. It may not be the day. It's not fucking McDonald's. It's not show up and your way right away.
Yeah.
You get in line. But we got in line, we got our audience. You know, we saw her later than we were expecting to, but we also got more time than we were expecting. And so very disarming, very intelligent. We had a high level conversation and we had to agree to disagree on some things though, but it was respectful. And I was very grateful for her time and understanding. There's no doubt that she listened to me point by point. And she said, look, I can tell you guys have put a lot of thought into this and a lot of work into this. And
you showed her the campaign?
I showed her the campaign. She thought it was beautiful, and she said there's potential there. She just wasn't certain that it would be the end all be all. And so we agree it's not. There needs to be more regulation there. And so, you know, we weren't there to debate. But she was willing to hear from us. And what she did say though was, if you have time, can you stay? I'll call the heads of department and you can meet in my conference room. She even offered that there was enchiladas in there. Shout out MLG.
Nice.
It was awesome, you know, very hospitable. Dude, the staff is friendly, and it was engaging. And so I was able to sit down with Clay. It's the first time I had met him.
Nice.
Didn't take him long to win my respect because again, he listened. He wasn't ill-informed. He was willing to own, you know, I brought the fact check sheet and he told me the ones, you know, he had an issue with and the ones that he fully owned. And I just find him to be very intelligent and of high integrity.
Cool guy. He's a cool guy.
And he also brought Kevin, who's the RLD attorney, and him and I connected better than we ever had. We've kind of had an adversarial thing, and I see I haven't used the right tactic to relate to him. But now, you know, I was able to find my words, and again, he was more accurate in his speech. He did go back and fact check some of the things, and I think a lot of this is long hours, long days, and not enough time in them, because RLD doesn't just regulate cannabis. Sometimes as cannabis people, we're the center of our world, but these guys do a lot. And so I still think there's a lot of disconnect with the CCD, but I do think that Clay is helping Todd to fix it. And over time, if we stay active and don't, you know, disappear, which we know we're not going to, it's going to get better and better, because this dialogue, what I told them guys is like, hey, you know, like the other night after the meeting, you know, I was, you know, bugging Kevin. I couldn't stop. Like the stuff that was misrepresented in the meeting got under my skin. And
oh yeah, I'm sure you were pissed.
And
I was pissed. Just was pissed.
He'd been there since 6 and it was 9 o'clock at night. And he's like, look guys, I got to go. I got to be back here early tomorrow morning.
Tony's trying to fight him in the parking lot.
He's a big boy. He'll probably whoop me, dude. Honestly, I like to think so, but you know, he's fighting in a different weight class, brother. And he's got a strong handshake, that dude. But really cool guy. And so we had a better connection because we had more time. You know how it is. It's hard when we're debating sound bites. Yeah. But when you have time to really spend it, it's awesome. And so that's what I'm realizing is like we have that dialogue, and you guys are giving the digital assets that now they need, because what they need is to know that somebody did really good work on their homework, and now Safe Cannabis NM can be the cheat sheet for these regulators to come to. And so it's more than just teaching parents how to store.
We got more coming too. And we're going to highlight the penalties. We're going to highlight the penalties.
Yeah.
Hey, it's important to lock your stuff up. You know, in New Mexico, you can face up to 3 years in jail. And, you know, the same thing.
So it's just like you drink, you drive, you lose.
Yeah. Fuck around and fucking find out. Just lock the shit up, Bill.
And if these guys, like, one thing I have forgotten to propose in all of this, trying to problem solve how to keep stuff out of kids' hands, is I think what the CCD should do is issue a voluntary recall period, where if you have child attractive packaging out there on the market, like truly, like I'm not talking like these beautiful, I consider this professional marketing.
Yeah.
I think what they should do is do a preliminary call. Like, hey guys, we know we haven't set a good example on this issue, but right now is your come to Jesus moment, and get fucking right or get ready, because we're coming, and issue maybe 3 months, like a quarter, I think would do it. And then make those people come correct.
Yeah.
You know, set a hard line, or else, and just say it's going to, you know, you see on the enforcement actions page, they pass out $10,000 fines all day long. You know, people are messing up here, messing up there, operating without the right license. 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. Go with that number and do a couple, and then everyone will get right real quick. Because like I know we talked on the first pod, no one fucked around in the DOH day. You know, if you didn't have hot water, if you didn't have anything,
Oh, they would
anything.
take your license.
Because those people were really, because they did food.
And it was
So
health.
they were,
it was a medical program only. So they were like making sure you weren't endangering patients. And I feel like some of the integrity has left. And of course, I didn't love that scheme either under DOH because I wasn't in, it was a closed door far too often. And when it opened, there was a lot of politics involved. But now, we have a democratized, open and free market, but we need to demand more from the regulators the way they're demanding more from us. And so I do think now, though, we at least have a better give and take going to where, we know we have a champion with Clay because no one under him is going to bullshit him.
Yeah.
Like they finally have
he's a no bullshit
the
guy.
boss that they need.
Well, and here's the thing. Look, I understand, there's going to be regulators. There's going to be a state overseeing our program. We're in a regulated industry. Just talk to us.
Yep.
Nothing about us without us. Talk to us. Spend some time in the industry. My facility is open. Like I said, we've toured multiple state agencies. We've toured, Department of Pharmacology and Poison Control. We tour potential clients every day. We want to show off our facility and what we're doing.
Yep.
We feel we're doing it the right way. We are proud and we are passionate about what we do. But just connect with us.
Yep.
That's all I want the state and the CCD. You want the CCD to run better, understand the needs of the industry.
Yeah.
Understand the needs of the industry, help the industry. Don't hurt the industry. Don't cost the industry more fucking money.
Everything's got to be give and take.
Yeah.
Well, and that's how I ended up so frustrated and feeling disenfranchised was, the argument from the CCD was always that they were short of human power. They didn't have enough trained people in the field. And my argument was always, that's why you should be working at a higher level. Because in the beginning, when we first saw all the shenanigans in the industry, we knew that there wasn't enough product to stand this thing up the way it did. And I was trying to tell them, look, why don't you just use BioTrack? You're trying to go find the needle in the haystack whenever you have a repository of information. These people, they're not going straight from the guy's backpack into the shop and straight to the consumer. They were working it through BioTrack. So there was a digital fingerprint on all of the shenanigans. And I forever beat that drum to like, hey guys, don't even waste your time going in the field. Do your homework before you go out there and then saddle up your posse and go bust them.
There's no directive, Tony.
And so now though, it's, that has shifted. I think was it Linda Gallegos before and over RLD and now it's Clay.
I can't remember.
And so it wasn't Clay. And so that's where I think we've seen enough line in the sand and I feel it. Like my inspections have gone from novice to expert level to where, they love to look at the time. Yeah, but
they can't be silly. And we talked about that before. And
what was cool was they were open to, I've been pretty steamed up about my failed report. I had one camera out of 30 down. My brother was already on the ladder fixing it when they showed up. Everything was good. Every other thing passed. And so if it was a test in school, it was a 99 out of 100. But it says fail on the top, so it hurts my ego. And I mentioned that yesterday.
The only industry where a 99 gets you a fail.
And Fuck me. But he said it's not really a fail. It's just they have this pass-fail mindset. And so we're working on terminology. Maybe we start calling it a preliminary pass, and so but it's not a full pass. It's a preliminary pass. So I understand where that came from, though, was having to document everything. So that way there's no favoritism. And we can't have it both ways. And so that's where I had to concede that to Clay of like, okay, I understand why I won't freak out now on what you're calling a fail. I would like to work on that term longer term. Yeah. I know the camera was back up, but I think before they even left that day, before they left town, it might not have been up before they left my farm, but my brother had that thing fixed. He's a whiz with those things and they go down. We have cameras that run 1,000 foot.
Just treat us like any other industry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're gonna,
let's face it, these CBD drinks at 7-Eleven aren't on lock and key.
Yeah, how's 7-Eleven's cameras?
They got them, to see if someone robs, but I guarantee that CBD cooler.
But they don't have to show them to anybody.
No. They don't even have to show them to the cops if they want
they're
to.
internal, yeah.
Here's the thing, until we stop looking at cannabis as criminal activity and the state stops looking at us that way, we're not going to get anywhere with these people. And we have to destigmatize and we have to fix this problem.
Yeah.
And I think we're in the right direction. You know, not to be all doom and gloom and it's, well, Tony, we're fucking fucked. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, and you're working on the solution. Like Safe Cannabis NM, it has all of our logos. We're now engaging with the regulators, but I think from like being, you know, devil's advocate is like, if we're not up there, you know, in their face in a polite way, and we're not interfacing with the public in a polite way, like, you know, outside the industry, you know, we need more people listening to podcasts like this. And I'm sure like once your lounge is open, we'll find a ton of ways to make these super fun and engaging and less business and more just for funsies.
Exactly.
When that's the case, we can start educating the public about who we really are. Because right now, if you watch the news and you think the industry is Dene Banali and the Chinese Communist Party out there in the East Mountains and up in Farmington, then you think we are still criminals. You know, if you look at Golden Roots and people like this, it's like, well, there's a lot of criminals amongst us. And, you know, I think all of us, you know, we've professionalized ourselves and we got business cards and we're public and we've been triple background checked and verified. So from here, we just have to engage more. And I love the way you guys are approaching it from an online perspective, because that's global.
Well, we're adults. Reach. We're adults. We like to be respected as adults. So we felt, you know, accumulatively as a group that the Safe Cannabis New Mexico campaign needs to be treating adults with respect and saying, hey, these things can be dangerous in the fact of, you know what I mean? They shouldn't be given to children. Children shouldn't have access to them. Let's be adults. Let's be accountable. Let's be smart. Education is key. Education is key. And if you treat adults like adults, I think you get a better, as soon as you start disrespecting people and acting like, you know, they can't, you know, fucking make their, you know, govern their own life, that's when I think there's a gross overstep and overreach by our government.
Yeah.
And that whole govern me harder daddy kind of mentality is just, I don't get it.
Yeah.
And these people that are standing up and saying, well then the quality brands will do better because then people won't be fooled by packaging. No.
Yeah, I saw that comment. And
that's what you take from this? No, you're letting people fucking dictate your life.
Yeah.
Now it's edibles. Now it's fucking packaging and coloring. Next it's everything else.
Yeah.
The state needs to stop making new rules and just work on the ones we already got.
Yeah.
Half of those we don't fucking need, but just work on that. Don't add to it.
Yeah.
And the mentality of society is so stupid and adults are so incompetent that they need to be told. I mean, they need laws to keep them from like hurting themselves and their kids. Come on.
You got 15,000 views on your call to action, bro. I mean, Duke's running for governor. I think you should be a state senator. At least, bro. Fucking, I guarantee you, state senators getting 15,000 views on their posts, bro.
Don't go that far.
Representative Romero.
Dude, I'm down with it. It sounds good. It already sounds like there's already one or two up there, bro.
What happens if you cuss on the microphone up there? Do you get in trouble?
Bro, I heard Duke used to stand on tables and shit. I don't know.
Oh God! Watch congressional hearings, bro.
They need
Do they cuss?
Dude, Pam Bondi and Congress just got into it. Like somebody stormed out of the room.
Did they say fuck?
Oh yeah, they were throwing. They were throwing hard. Like
Did they get in trouble for saying it?
Dude, they fight in Europe. I think, don't they fight in Europe?
Yeah, bro. They scream at each other in Europe,
dude. So I think
I'm down for the European politics.
I think it needs to. It might need some of that flavor, dude. Because like seeing some of these people that got elected, honestly, it's because it's a part-time job, and so that's one positive thing that I could wrap up on is like. In New Mexico, like I had forgotten until the CANM lobbyists had reminded us, is like these are part-time politicians. Most of them have day jobs.
Yeah.
And we have one of the few legislatures in the country where you can just, as long as you make it through that fucking metal detector, you can go visit anyone you want. You can walk into their office, and if they're not there,
Matt highlighted
you
that.
can leave a message with their secretary.
Yeah, we've proven it.
And
the proof's in the pudding.
And they gave us a list to go visit. You know, like I love the way Matt and Amanda queued up our visit on lobby day.
Yeah.
And to me, that's something that with the online leverage that you guys are doing, like, can you imagine the ripples that are about to go out now that we can educate all these people and say, hey, stop waiting for someone to come and give you permission.
Stronger together, because we're making waves and we're going to continue to, and we are gaining membership by the day. You guys go on nmcannabis.org.
I believe so. Just Google Cannabis Association of New Mexico will be the first to pop up.
Cannabis Association of New Mexico, CANM, and join the group.
Links in the description.
Join the group. Membership is very important.
Yep.
You know, Matt, the executive director, he puts out a lot of like free information, I guess we'll call it. He keeps everybody updated.
Tons of free consulting.
And that's there, but get in the conversation. Become a member. Meet with us and let's talk. Let's figure out what the industry wants, what the state wants, because it's not just it's not what Farmers wants. It's not what Lava Leaf wants. We're trying to make a better industry for the state.
Yeah. When we walk into those meetings, we leave our brands at the door.
100%.
And I mean, this is about our way of life. And it is our way of life.
I'm for fucking cannabis first before anything. I'm for cannabis. I'm for the use of, the sale of, the availability of cannabis and cannabis products. I feel they make people's lives better.
Yes.
Period.
And something I think we should end it on is, before it was legal, it was our way of life.
100%.
Now that it's legal, it's our way of life, and we got to defend it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now we can defend it more vehemently, because we can ask our friends and family for support instead of, they're like, well, what have you been up to? A little this, little that. You know, now it's like, well, I've been up in Santa Fe. You know, can you please call your local representative? Here's their number.
And like Jet, I gotta quote Jet. We're not new to this. We're true to this. Like this is in our hearts and souls, and we're gonna continue. We've done this long before they allowed us to, and we're gonna continue to do it long after. And who knows? I'm getting old. Maybe I'll get into politics.
Dude, I started thinking the other day someone mentioned, you got a knack for this. I'm like, all right, well, in 20 years maybe, when I'm 60.
There we go. All right.
Nobody might vote for you unless you got gray hair, the way politics works in this country.
Yeah. It's coming, bro. It's coming quick, bro.
It's there.
It's coming quick.
I think the association's making moves. I think the state, whether they want to listen to us or not, are going to be forced to.
Yep.
We're loud, and we're going to get louder.
We're loud and proud.
And this is why.
We're coming.
This is why we need. It fucked me up, though.
I had to, bro. You're too smooth. All buttery in the mic.
This is why we need membership, and this is why we need everybody to get behind, and we need to join up, put our differences beside and behind us, and yeah, we need to come together and make a better program for the state.
Yeah. Well, let's do it. You heard the call to action.
I got a big fucking camera, and I ain't afraid to use it.
Yeah.
There you go.
And we're going to continue making noise. Like I said, as a group, you know, we got a lot of powerful players, but we want more, and we want everybody to join up. So
there's no excuses these days. You know, we got accused at the chamber, and I agree that shit was too expensive. You know, what you give for what you get, the value proposition no longer worked. It was one thing when pounds were $3,000, memberships were $3,000, but pounds are not even near 3,000. They're more like 400 now.
What's the lowest membership at?
It's 420. Remember,
$420 a year,
and that's for green. And that shows like, hey, I'm not in a position to support higher, but I morally support you. We really encourage producers, if you believe you're going to be a survivor and you want to ensure your survival and you want to participate in policy formation, then silver is $1,200. That's the level that all of us founders joined at. And if you really want to step up and help lead the way, we have a gold membership where there's some extra perks there, some really strong perks. And so, you know, don't be afraid to join up at gold. You know, if you're a MSO looking to come to New Mexico, if you want to land on friendly soil, I suggest that you join at gold, because the state is not closed. But also we've formed some pretty tight ranks here now, and your big brand names aren't going to carry as much weight. You know, and
they definitely aren't on Capitol Hill.
Well, and we really are going to push, we're a real trade association. We're going to be given respect as a real trade association. And yeah, we need the funding and the membership to do the things we got to do.
Yep.
And that's very important. So yeah, we want everybody to join up, and yeah, we can really make some moves and create some waves and get better policy passed, and yeah, get everything in line.
Yeah.
Where can people
Fix
find
the
you,
disconnect.
Tony?
Thanks for.
Where can people find you?
People can find me online. I'm Terpy Tone on Instagram. I run the at Lava Leaf Organics page. My brother's at Mountain Mitchell.
You got a store, right?
You get a hold of any of us, you find us. Yeah, we have a store up in Farmington. It's our flagship store. We mainly focus on wholesale, and we're everywhere. Black Market Dispo is where I've been sending everybody once that lounge is open. That's going to be my go-to spot for taking business meetings. But we're all over the state, man. If you follow our Instagram, I'll post about, where latest drops and stuff are happening. But thank you for having us.
Dude, thanks for coming on. You're always welcome.
Love the redesign. This is awesome, guys. And
Hell
thank
yeah.
you for Cannabis NM. Safe
Hell
Cannabis
yeah.
NM.
Hell yeah.
Peace, guys. Thank you.